Hey everyone. So this has been a long time coming, but a long time ago I made a video on how I treat my ongoing Pyoderma Gangrenosum wound that's on my left foot here. And I didn't know at the time that the way I was being taught how to treat my wound and how I was doing it myself was entirely incorrect, and that information has been brought down to me by people in the Pyoderma Gangrenosum field of like treatment. So before, where I was treating this wound with a product called Zero Form with gauze and petroleum jelly, that was just not correct. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways how you're really supposed to treat your pyoderma wounds. And fair warning, and I've said this in the last time I made this video, is this is very graphic, so if you get queasy or you don't like to see wounds or open wounds or flesh, blood, that sort of thing, you should probably click off this video right now. And I will also show you guys the progress in this 3-year-long battle that I've had with this one particular wound. I've had 3 wounds total on my legs, and this is the only one that has still been giving me trouble 3 years later. The other 2 have completely healed and are totally fine. Nerve damage is definitely there, but nothing compared to this particular wound. So, first, of course, is getting rid of all this BS. Now, I put down a fresh, clean towel. I was advised that cleaning it in the shower is just not a good idea. So I'll show you how I clean it in particular. But let me just get rid of all these bandages first. Okay. So I cut all these bandages open with a pair of Amazon surgical scissor type things. Yes, this has been sterilized. If you want to believe that or not, whatever. But I have sterilized it. Let me adjust the camera. Now, for those that don't know, or maybe you do know, this is extremely painful. It goes without saying. You know, it's an open wound, and depending on the bandage you put on it or the dressing you put on it, that pain differs. And I'll explain that in a second here. Okay. So, okay, so that is the wound, you know, 3 years later, where before it used to cover this giant chunk of a portion here, and farther back on my ankle, on the back side of my ankle. You know, it just, what can I really say? It sucks. It is what it is. But I'm going to treat it and share with you guys how I do that. The first thing, of course, is I have a collagen graft or sheet that was over top this. So it's very important that I try my best to get that residual collagen off without actually scrubbing the wound itself. That's a thing with pyoderma. You don't want to debris the wound. You don't want to irritate the wound too much. Otherwise, you're going to be in a world of shit. Pardon my language, but I'm going to be swearing a little bit here. It is what it is. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. Anyone with chronic wounds is going to swear. Deal with it. So the first thing I'm going to use here is a C-Cleanse wound cleanser. And I'm not going to sit there and scrub the hell out of it. I'm just going to simply spray this on my gauze package here, which is just a sterile, large gauze pad you can get from Walmart. It comes in a 25 count, and you can get it for like $5. And just kind of go around the edges a little bit here. There's some, you got to be careful, you know. There's some areas here that have that little bit of collagen. You want to get that off as best as you possibly can. And if you're wondering about that purple stuff and kind of the white stuff around it, I will explain that. Don't worry about it. It's not a bad thing. It's just, I will get there. And like I said, you don't want to be rough on the actual wound bed. You can be a little bit more so around the edges. As long as you're not really, you know, digging in there, you'll be all right. So the next thing I'm going to do here is I have a product called acetic acid. It's a basically to sterilize this kind of whole wound thing, and I don't use this all the time. I maybe use it every 2 or 3 bandage changes. Other times what I'll sit there and do is I'll take a gauze pad and spray the hell out of it and just lay it on the wound bed and let it kind of gradually pull up all that nastiness, lightly, you know, graze it over the wound, and then obviously throw it away. But because I haven't done this in, I think, about a week, I'm going to use this. And what I normally do is I'll take it and just kind of, you know, get it on there a little bit here, and then just lay it on the wound, press down a little bit. And what you really want to do is let it sit there, and my doctor says let it marinate for about 5 seconds, but I don't like to say the word marinade because it reminds me too much of food, and I marinate a lot of chicken and beef, and that just kind of, it does something wrong with my stomach. So let it just kind of sit there for about 5 or 10 minutes, and I'll cut to that, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so about 5 minutes has passed, and I'm going to kind of press down on it a little bit. Yeah, of course it hurts, but you know, you got to do what you got to do. But then just lift up on it, and you can even see from there that it has pulled up quite a bit of residual gunk and crap. So we really want to just, at this point, just lightly go around there. That hurt a little bit more than I thought it was gonna. And that's really kind of it with that. So, as far as a dressing topper, we have a couple options. Where before I was telling people to use Zero Form because that's what I was told to use, I have a couple different options here. Hydrophera Blue. The Ready stuff in particular is fantastic because you don't have to prep it with any sort of water. Or I have Polymem Silver Max. Here's the thing with both of these, right? So Polymem Silver is what I used previously when I took all this stuff off. It's less aggressive of a dressing, whereas this Hydrophera is going to pull a lot of that crap and just bacteria and all that nastiness off. There's a drawback between both of these. So if I use Hydrophera, I can't exactly use a product like Endoform, which is a collagen, like basically a collagen skin graft, for a lack of a better term. If I use the Hydrophera with this Endoform skin graft, basically, it'll counteract in a way to where it would make this null and void. It really won't do as much of a good job. On the flip side, if I use Polymem and Triple Helix collagen powder, it'll do that exact same thing. This collagen powder won't be able to do as good of a job because for some reason, this is just what I'm told, for some reason the Polymem and the collagen powder kind of fight each other. But I can use Hydrofera and collagen powder, and I can use Polymem Max Silver and Endoform collagen, basically skin graft. It's weird, I know, it may be very hard to understand, and I get that. It is what it is. So what I'm going to do this time, because I don't like to use the same topping, dressing topper twice, is I'm not going to use the Polymem Silver, and instead I'm going to use the Hydrofera Blue Ready, which also sucks because when it comes down to the time where I have to take this off, this does kind of stick to the wound bed a little bit. So when you begin to pull the Hydrofera off your wound, you may scream a time or two because it literally is pulling all that excess bull crap off your wound, and it hurts, it sucks. That's really all I can say. If you get it wet with your wound cleanser, it does help, but not enough to where you're probably not going to want to cuss someone out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wound dressing of the Triple Helix collagen powder and kind of spread it on the wound bed just enough. You don't need to really coat the whole thing, but just enough to get a nice layering on the wound. And basically why you would do both the collagen powder and the collagen skin graft is because collagen in itself is the building blocks for skin. So this helps promote healthy skin growth, and that's why you use these. It helps speed up the process so that hopefully in your case you're not dealing with a 3-year-long wound like I am. Okay, so that's on there, nice and good, whatever. You don't need to do anything else with the collagen. You don't need to pat it down or anything. As long as it's covering the whole wound, you're good to go. I'm going to use this Hydrofera. This is a 4x5 sheet. I don't need a 4x5 sheet on this wound. That's probably going to be half that size. So you're going to take this. It depends on your size of wound, but you can put this on there. I have to cut it in half because Hydrofera and really all these dressings and bandages stuff is so unbelievably stupid expensive, where I have to conserve my supplies, otherwise I'd be very broke. And of course these are not sharp at all. Why would they be? Now it's very important with Hydrofera that you use, with the text here, it has to face upwards. Where you see all that kind of like porous kind of material has to face on the wound bed. Now, the way I have it, I have this excess period or part here that's open. And really all I'm just going to do is chop this corner part off, because I really don't need it, at least where it's going. So I'm going to put that there, and then just because I'm a little bit cautious of this area, I'm going to put an excess piece right here. And that's going to cover the whole wound bed once I get this whole thing situated. So the remainder of this Hydrofera I'm going to put back in the container, or back in this thing, and I will get a Ziploc once this is all said and done with, so that I'm not getting that extra like bacteria or whatever on that. As much as possible, I'd rather not. So I completely missed something when I put this Hydrofera on. I'm going to take this off slightly and put that on the thing here. So what I'm going to use next is a product called, and I'm probably going to butcher the name of it, Gentian Violet, or Gentian Violet. And this is going to go around the wound bed. And why you would use something like this is technically supposed to help with moisture, blocking away all that moisture. Because what happens is with a wound like this is there's a ton of drainage that ends up pouring down here and creating basically a cesspool of bacteria and a cesspool of just moist, nasty skin. So you don't really want that. To remedy that, you take gentian violet. Or gentian violet. So what I will do is I'll take a gauze pad, and you could take a Q-tip, I guess, too, is I'll pour some of this on a gauze pad and go around the wound bed, more specifically towards where that drainage is going to appear, which is obviously towards the bottom of my foot. And that's it. So once you get that on there, then we could put back on our Hydrofera. We'll take an antibacterial gauze pad. Again, this is from Walmart. It's thankfully pretty damn cheap. And put it over top of that wound bed, and then we will take a gauze roll and go over this entire thing. So once that's over top of it, we'll take a package of Coban or Colastic. You could take one of those kind of like nettings and throw it over here too, just to keep all this from getting loose on you and falling apart. I like Coban, it's just nicer in my opinion. And this stuff is self-adhesive, so pretty much the moment you throw it over top of it itself, it sticks. And as long as you don't put it too tight, it's pretty damn nice. I like it way better than the netting, but that's just kind of like a personal preference. And that is it. That is how I treat this wound. That is how I've been treating this wound for over a year now. And, yeah. Here's to another, I guess, 6 months of dealing with this same exact crap. It sucks, you know. Pyoderma Gangrenosum, for those who have it, know just how much of a debilitating disease this really is. And for those who don't know, I don't blame you guys for not understanding or not knowing. You wouldn't know. I hope this is helpful in some way, if not to help you guys with pyoderma wounds, or to help others who maybe don't understand this disease and the way you have to treat it and just how much of a debilitating disease it is. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you guys. Take care, and I hope to see you next time.